two, and one. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to I Am My Own Story. I am Solid Blue Sister on episode 12. And today we have Joker, who is a content creator on TikTok. And y'all need to go and see his videos. Serious stuff, things you guys need to take a look at. And I think it might help a couple of people, if not a lot of people. So Joker is co-host of The Villain's View, which is on Hot 101 Net, and it also streams on their Facebook page, Ghost Claw Productions. It's on Sunday, airing 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. Eastern. So without further ado, Joker, welcome, and thank you so much for saying yes.
I mean, honestly, there's no reason to not say yes, Solid. This is an absolute honor. It really is. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying yes. So, Joker, I know that you have a huge interest in mental health and health care. And you talked about it briefly on The Villain's View. And I just wanted to ask you first and foremost, why the interest in mental health?
Um, Being somebody who is someone that they would quote unquote say suffer from mental health illness and watching the improper treatment of people who have mental health issues and not getting the help that they truly actually need is something that I want to push out there and try to make more broad, more aware because I feel it needs to be more aware in all of society because there's a lot of people who choose not to get mental health help. And me being somebody who suffers from, a diagnosis and can't really get the proper treatment that I need, I feel it's something that is very, you know, not stressful, but also at the same time kind of stressful idea of let's make things better. Let's try to get things better.
Well, do you, I don't want to use the word blame, but I'm going to use the word blame. That's the only word that I can really come up with right now. Do you think it is a societal thing? Do you think it's a government thing? Do you think that in terms of getting help that it starts at home? Where do you see the breakdown?
So it literally can be all three of those in all actuality. If when we're going to use the word blame, we can because there are certain I don't know households that their parents may be dealing with mental health issues and don't seek treatment because they think there's nothing wrong because maybe they grew up in the generation that was like, oh, just brush it off and deal with it, or you have a child who's growing up that has severe anxiety issues and we don't understand why they have these severe anxiety issues because there's something probably plaguing them inside their mind. So society looks down on a lot of us because of the mental health issues. The government, for me, government is a big blame for it because of privatized insurance companies that I work for FedEx, I get benefits. So I get health, I get dental, I get vision and all that, but I'm still paying a chunk of money out of my pocket in order for me to be able to do anything health wise. And that even goes with the mental health aspect where I'm still not able to get everything that I need. And I feel that if that aspect was changed and the privatized insurance company was taken out of the picture and that tax money was put towards the resources that they need to be put towards, a lot of things could be properly done right. And then also, I mean, I'm labeled as the freak a lot of times. I'm labeled because of all the tattoos I have. I paint my fingernails. I have big holes in my ears and everything else like that because this is what makes me feel comfortable mentally because I'm going through so much in my own mind that society will look down on me and go, "Oh, you're one of the problem childs," without even giving an opportunity to look at me in my mind and have a conversation with me, to listen to me actually speak, to see that I'm not as bad as you would assume that I would be. So I think the factor can come between all three of those things, honestly.
Well, when you say take privatize or take privatized healthcare out of the equation, well, let's go back 50, 60 years when privatized healthcare really wasn't around so much. And I mean, what was the problem then? And I'm just playing both sides here. So I'm just playing
No,
with both sides.
I understand that, and 50, 60 years ago, everything was, I mean, and it still truly is whitewashed to this day, but like 50, 60 years ago, there wasn't a lot that they were doing for anybody if you didn't have money. Privatized insurance companies may have not been a thing, but if you didn't have money in your pocket, they weren't going to do anything properly for you. They were going to send you off with, here's some ibuprofen, or, oh, you just need to, you know, sit down and think about your life decisions and everything else like that. They weren't pushing real, actual, genuine help, because if somebody didn't come in there with money in their pocket to be able to pay for the services that they wanted to get done,
Hmm.
then things weren't getting done. And the reason why I was saying get rid of privatized insurances in retrospect is because me, yes, and I try not to get political if that's not where the access is going. But when we talk about government, I am
No,
I
get
am.
get
Yeah, no,
political.
I'm socialist. So I'm a socialist. I believe that we should have universal basic income. We should have universal health care. We should have, free schools, the whole nine. Because I feel that the tax paying money that we pay, and yes, I understand a lot of people will argue that, oh, but our taxes would go up. All of that tax money would go straight to the companies or the schools to pay for the resources that we need. So the therapist would be getting paid for, we wouldn't have to come out of our own pocket. The psychiatrists would be able to get paid for, we wouldn't have to come out of our own pocket. We could get the treatment that we need, and the money could be supplied to the things that genuinely actually need to be supplied to, instead of taking half of it and then throwing half of it to the privatized insurance company and still paying our money as well to the privatized insurance company, which is only making corporations bigger.
Okay, so again, I'm playing both sides. Because you went there, so I'm gonna go there too. Um, is it really socialism, or is it capitalism? Is it whatever ism you want to throw at it? Because the bottom line doesn't just come down to greed.
It really is greed as well.
I mean,
Absolutely.
because no matter, I don't care if you're a socialist or whatever. Because look at the lotto. When the lotto first started, it was supposed to be for education. All this money is supposed to go towards education, and it doesn't.
Mm-mm.
So again, it's like, does it really matter what ism you are? Because the bottom line is the people who are giving out the money, they're going to put some in their pocket anyway. And the people who really need it are still, which are usually the not rich, are going to be the ones that are the most disadvantaged, and they will always be. So no matter what ism you are, you're still going to have that issue with where money goes in terms of health.
Mm. And you have it. You bring up a good point, and I look at this. And this is another thing why I believe in like basic universal income. Like, I'm not saying nobody should work. I'm not saying nobody should ever just rely on the government to give them money or anything else like that. I feel everybody should have the ability to still maintain a job, get paid fairly, but also, if say you and me were to get $2,000 at the beginning of the month every month, plus also work the 40 hours that we may work or so and get that paycheck, that also helps increase my ability to be able to pay most of the bills that I need to pay, plus save money to invest more into society to
Okay.
help pay for these other things. And that's the same thing what I would say with like insurance and other things like that. If we didn't have a privatized insurance company, then people wouldn't have to rely on which plan is better than which plan. So I can seek therapy because I have traumatic incidences in which I need to, get help with in order for me to be a more stable, in the middle type of individual, instead of being a very aggressive or very depressed or very, I can be like in the middle and go, I know how to fight, I know how to do this because I've been working on it. If I have these abilities because the insurance company is not taking $100 out of my pocket, as well as getting paid by certain fiscal situations and everything else like that, yeah, it is greed. I will agree 100%. It is a greedy thing. And, but that's just something I see and go, hey, we can do this but so many people look at it and go, I don't know, probably not possible. It really is though.
Well, in your situation, I'm gonna get a little personal. If you
Go
don't
ahead.
want me to, tell me
Go
no.
ahead.
Um, is this something that has been a situation since your adult life? Since you were a teenager, you were little, or
So I've had mental health issues since I was a kid, and my dad. It originally started out as like, oh, I was the ADHD problem. I just couldn't sit down. I was too hyperactive. I could never focus. I was always drifting off. That was but I also had issues because I don't mind getting personal about this. My dad, my biological mother, I'm sorry, I get very about that individual. Um, they divorced when I was very small. So I had this interpretation in my mind because I was not given the proper information on what was really happening, that they were no longer going to be together,
mhm,
that I was in this mind state that my mother was a superhero and that she was coming back eventually. It's just my dad he had to go away with me, and
mhm,
which caused me to have more severe mental health issues. And when I came to find out later on in my adult life is that my birth mother actually did not want to have me in the first place. She did so my dad took me away from a situation in which was really toxic for me anyway,
mhm.
was already a toxic thing. So my mental health started at a very young age, and having complex post traumatic stress disorder, I have a beginning, I have no end. So it just keeps piling on and keeps there's just one more thing becomes some kind of traumatic incident if it's been too severe, and that is a thing that I stress about mental health because I don't want people to have to not be able to get help from the traumas that they've gone through.
Well, where is mental health in terms of healthcare right now? I mean, is this something because all you hear, well, like this, I don't want to say all you hear, but I would say since COVID, especially since COVID, you've heard mental health, mental health. So, exactly where do you think mental health is in terms of health care? Where is it in terms of we really are trying to do something? Do you think it's still down here at the bottom? It's
Mm.
slowly starting to creep up, or
No, I do believe that it's still very much low tier of the healthcare system. I do believe that because of COVID and them making the understanding that people being secluded for so long has caused certain issues to happen with people and everything else like that, that they're taking a look at mental health, but it's still very low compared to, general practices or, anything else that any of the lawmakers are talking about right now, especially with a lot of the ridiculous bills they're trying to pass
well,
for doctors not being able to do.
it's interesting that you said, with people being, alone for so long. Um, do you think that those same people eventually would still have the same issues that they have, but it was just e- um, exacerbated because of COVID? COVID was the jumping off point, whereas say that same person maybe would have been okay, and then maybe 10 years later they something would have happened that would have triggered them, but the seclusion was the thing that
So
got
what
them.
what I can think is, like, honestly, if you take a look at the circumstances with us having to be secluded for the time that we had to be secluded before people just started going nuts and not wanting to be stuck inside anymore. It did kind of exacerbate a lot of people's, mental health from where it might have been. There are people who have probably had issues that have never been properly diagnosed, that have never properly seek treatment because they were, oh, I'm just feeling this way right now. It'll go away. I've got nothing to worry about or anything else like that. And then being secluded for so long, it kind of, you rest in your mind and you start to realize a whole lot of things and you start to see a whole lot of things. So I think maybe a 60-40%, that 60% are still going to have those issues now that things are kind of getting back into the swing of opening up and everything else like that. And like 40% will go back to that, like, I'll be all right. And then maybe 10 years from now, something major will happen, and they'll go, well, I remember when that hurt in 2020. That was something that really bothered me back when I had to sit down and stare at a computer screen for 8 hours a day.
Okay, so let's go back 100 years,
Okay.
125 years to 1918. And you have the epidemic, the Spanish flu, which I hate that name because it wasn't the Spanish that spread it.
No, 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 it wasn't.
So, do you think that they had issues like this? Do you think that when they were telling people that you have to stay in the house and put a mask on and what have you, that it was like this? And I say go back 100 years because I'll even say go back to 200 years. Let's go back to the Civil War.
Hmm.
170 years, whatever it was. Um, you have soldiers coming back from war. You have people, civilians, no matter who they were, they experienced some type of trauma. Either a loved one was killed or whatever happened. You have World War I, World War II. You have all these wars that are in between. All these people are screwed up in some way. Again, be it the family members or the soldiers, whatever. Mental health was an issue. Why is it still an issue?
Hmm. Yeah. I don't think they take a look at it as much as hard as they really should. Honestly, you think about it, Civil War. There are people getting killed right in front of your face.
Hmm.
Like there are people dying, and there are people who have survived watching people get murdered right in their face because
Right.
of a war that makes no sense. Honestly, it's the dumbest thing in the world. But you watch these people, like this dude you're friends with. You guys are buddies. You guys have been bunking together. You guys have been going together on this whole journey and everything else like that. And then you're in a battle, and he gets killed right in front of your face. That's post-traumatic stress disorder right there in itself.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
he's gonna have those visions for the rest of his life, but they didn't focus on it back then, just like World War I, World War II. It didn't really become a factor until, what was it, Vietnam, when the Vietnam vets came back all having PTSD.
But even
It wasn't.
still, they still didn't.
No, because they honestly don't care about veterans' mental health as much either. The VA is one of the worst hospital systems
It
in
is.
America.
It
Sorry to
is.
say it.
It is.
Um, and these are a lot of the people we see, and I hate to say it. I mean, I was homeless at one point in time. These are a lot of people we see out in the homeless population are military veterans, and a lot of them are suffering from mental health disorders and can't get the proper treatment that they need. Because again, like I said, and I agreed with you when you were saying this, it's bottom tier. They're not looking at mental health. They're gonna blame everything that's happened in society on, oh, he had some mental health issues, but then we're not gonna take a look at why are people still having these mental health issues. We're not gonna sit there and go, let's figure out how to solve this. They're just gonna go, well, he murdered 6 people because he had bipolar, and then it's just like a brush off the shoulder, honestly.
Okay, well, let's talk about this for a moment. Someone murders 6 people because
Hmm.
supposedly they have this mental health issue. Should that person have a pass?
Mm-mm. No, you murdered somebody. No.
So when we have guilty by reason of insanity, should that be a viable defense?
Well, no. I honestly, who was it? What president was it that shut down our mental health institutions, our state hospitals? And it was Reagan, wasn't it?
I think it was Reagan. It was either, yeah, it was Reagan because that was in
Yeah.
the 80s. Yes.
So, with an individual who may have a severe mental health issue, and you can tell that that severe mental health issue was a factor, they should still be locked up. That's what those state institutions were for. And he completely ixnayed a state institution. They should not see, I'm sorry, they should not be a free walking individual, or they should not get a pass for it was mental health.
So should mentally ill people be incarcerated with just the normal? When I say normal people, I'm talking about the non-classified mentally ill people.
I think there should be a separate ward for that, honestly. I
Okay.
don't think that they should be put in general population because there can be conflict. There can be so many different conflicts that happen as well because who knows what you know. Paranoid schizophrenics is a very serious, like somebody who's paranoid schizophrenic. It's a very serious thing. Like there are people who have multiple different personalities who are schizophrenic. You want to put somebody like that in the general population with somebody else that all of a sudden they turn into this person, and then oh, now we have to put him in 23 and 4, 23 and 1, basically. I'm going to lock him up in one cell for 23 hours a day, let him out for 1 hour with nobody else. There should be a ward where there's also people who work with mental health people, somebody who has mental health issues. There should be therapists and psychiatrists who are there to work with these people on a regular basis to not help free them, but if they've committed murders, but help them start to function better.
Well, Joker, aren't we doing that now? Just living from day to day. I mean, how do you know that your coworker next to you isn't Sybil? You know who Sybil is? You know who Sybil? Okay, I'm older than you. You'll have to see the movie.
I think I've seen the
Uh,
movie.
so she had like 13, 14 different personalities,
She had
whatever.
multiple. Yeah, she
Yes,
had multiple
yes.
personality
Right.
disorder.
So I mean, well, so how do you know that the person, your coworker that's in the next cubicle isn't Sybil? How do you know that your boss is not going to, freak out because he's going through whatever? I mean, aren't we already living? I mean, when you say
We
separate,
are. We are. We are, and that's what I mean. We are, but no, what I'm meaning in like somebody who commits like an atrocity, like a murder and stuff like that. I'm not meaning day to day individual. I'm
okay,
meaning
okay,
somebody
so
who's
okay,
committing a
so
crime.
okay, so is there a difference between someone who is mentally ill and commits a murder as opposed to your neighbor next door who just got pissed off at his wife and kids and he just killed like the guy that just got convicted, he just killed his wife and daughter? What's the
Absolutely,
difference?
absolutely not. They both committed murder.
So
What I'm meaning is like if they are diagnosed, like say they already have a medical record of somebody who's diagnosed with like paranoid schizophrenia. Let's try to work with that individual to try to see if we can't help the balance or anything else
okay,
like that. How
okay.
about the individual who lived right next door to you just up and killed his wife because he just got really mad one day?
Mhm.
Do we have any law, like, do we have any medical information on this individual being diagnosed with some kind of mental health issue? If not, I think they should be incarcerated, but at the same time, go through some kind of, you know, testing to see if maybe they have something that's wrong. Because generally, there is such, I think it's the percentage, I can't remember, I was talking about this percentage at one point in time. The amount of Americans in this country is like 300 and some odd million people.
Mhm.
There's only, I believe it was like 57, 58 million people truly diagnosed with a mental health issue. That is very low compared to the amount of people who live in this country.
So do you think that mental health in America is a pandemic?
I wouldn't call it a pandemic. It's not like COVID. It's just
No, I don't
something
mean
that
like
is,
COVID. I'm just saying that it's a problem. Like it's a
it is.
problem that needs to be addressed. And if it doesn't get addressed, then it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So that's what I mean. I guess put
Mhm.
in the context of a pandemic.
Well, if you put it in that circumstance, yes. Mental health is there because you don't know who all has. I could, like the example you gave. I don't know if my coworker standing next to me, loading the other three trucks right beside me, has some kind of, multiple personality disorder or PTSD, or is just bipolar or depressive or has an anxiety disorder, or you don't know these things unless, they're like, oh yeah, no, I please don't mind. Sorry, I sometimes go through anxiety really badly because I was
Mhm.
diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. Cool, I know how to kind of work with you on that because having post traumatic stress disorder, it's an anxiety disorder. I understand it, I get it. You know what I mean? But I also have swings of different moods and stuff like that. So where I look like I have bipolar, but I'm not.
So,
So
Joker, do you have a trigger or any particular trigger?
there are certain things that can set me off.
Okay.
Um, I have not been very good with emotions, and this is why I also do stress mental health, is because a lot of us bottle it up for so long to the point where the cap explodes, and then it's just a whirlwind of crazy, as I would say. And I don't use the term crazy as in like I'm some nut job or anything else like
Mhm.
that. It's just it's crazy how the emotions can happen. I didn't really get a proper diagnosis of complex post traumatic stress disorder until the separation with my ex-wife happened, because it was just like a cascade of so many different things. And I had a friend who was in recovery with me who is a therapist, but also does the diagnoses of mental health issues. And 25 minutes into our Zoom 3 hour conversation, he goes, "Yeah, no, that's post traumatic stress disorder," because I was naming certain things. I don't like talking about my birth mother. I have don't want to use the word hate. I'm trying to be a better person than I used to be. I would have, you caught me 2 years ago, would have said I hated that woman, but I have a deep rooted and
Resentment.
pretty much, and any conversation that where I have to bring her up, you can tell in a matter of like 30 seconds, my whole demeanor goes from like here to like I'm already almost here because I'm just extremely mad.
Okay.
And there's no reason to be.
Okay.
Um, I have night terrors at night. I don't sleep very well. My night terrors happen. I don't really remember most of the dreams that I have, but I wake up after about maybe 45 minutes of sleep, heart pounding out of my chest, deep sweats, and I'm just scared out of my mind from whatever it was that I was seeing in my head. And then I don't sleep for 2 hours. So they're just, and talking about these things can sometimes make me go, like, if I start to sway and move a whole lot, it's because my anxiety is starting to become a thing. And that's what I want people to see is as somebody with mental health, I'm willing to talk about it and show you that in the process of probably talking about this, you're going to see it.
So, what do you do to keep yourself centered?
Music.
Okay. Is there any particular
Um,
kind? Jazz,
so I listen to
rock,
a
or
rapper. No, so I mean, yeah, and everybody would probably look at me and automatically assume that I'm always about like heavy metal or death metal and everything else like that. Yes, I do like that music. I will let that go, be there. But when it comes to my mental health and trying to calm myself down, there's a rapper I listen to. His name is NF, and he does not cuss at all, but he talks about his own mental health and the words and the way he articulates everything. He You basically go, I that's what I'm going through right now, man,
okay.
and I get it. And so I can sit there and listen to him and get a sense of calm. He's one of the few artists that I've ever gone to multiple concerts to, because like I'm that guy that I've seen you one time, it's off my list. I don't need to see you again. I love it. But like him, I've already seen twice, and if the new album comes out here soon and he goes on tour, he comes to
Yeah, so
Kansas City, I'm going to go see him.
okay.
So
All right. So, if you had the power to, you were in charge of healthcare,
mhm.
what would you do? What would be the main thing that you would do to somehow get mental health on the right track?
Ooh, good question. I have to actually sit there and think for a second. Ooh, I like that. First and foremost, I got to make it one of the most. You've got to make it one of the top five things that we've got to get instituted on making
Okay, I
a
mean,
top tier.
I'm saying, Joker, I'm putting you in charge. Here's all the money you need, however millions or billions of dollars. You can have whatever you want. You have all the resources. You can hire whomever you want. Here, I need you to make sure that people who have mental health issues are taken care of. I want everyone to be. I want vets to come home from the service to have this. I want children to have this. I want little old ladies and little old men to have this or this or this. What would be the main thing that you would do that would get mental health care on the right track? What do you think is
Creating
needed?
Well, for the veterans, creating teams, mental health teams to help with incoming vets from wars and everything else like that. hiring more therapists, hiring more psychiatrists, creating um, boards of certain aspects of mental health. Okay, well, what is the most common mental health issues that we have nowadays? Depression, PTSD, anxiety, bipolar. Some people come out schizophrenic. Some people are this. But what are our main ones that we need to really take a look at? Look at our vets. They come back. A lot of them come back with post traumatic stress disorder. A lot of come back with anxiety issues, depression. And let's create the ability to bring more people in who have experience to help individuals. This person needs to sit down and have somebody who can talk. Let's put the money towards investing in the people who can help everybody. Because the amount of therapists and psychiatrists out right now is a small amount compared to what it is to everything else in healthcare. If we invest in more therapists and more psychiatrists and more practices and everything else like that, then we can have the ability to have more people who can get the help that they need.
Okay, well, here's one for you. How do we, and I know this is hard, and I know some people may hear this and say, "Silent, that just makes no sense." How do we prevent vets from coming home with that issue in the first place? Like, is there something that when they're over there that maybe your sergeant shouldn't have been such a whatever and pushing you in to do that? I mean, is there something that can happen where possibly that there's intervention over there before they come back home?
And they're heavily should be invested in any kind of therapy out in a situation where somebody's overseas at a war, which I think war is the last situation we need to be putting anybody in anyway. But in
Sure.
situations like that, there should be somebody or people who are trained to. You just watch this. Let's go through some mechanics to make sure that we can deal with this, and we can, if we have something that happens right now that say you have a nightmare, you can instantly come over here, and we've got somebody on staff already who's awake at this certain hour who can help and talk to you, and let's work through how to bring you back down to the center, basically. So I think investing in having something over there as well as having it for them when they get back as well, so that way they can continue to keep getting the treatment that they need from there to here as well.
Okay, so let's go from the military and let's go to schools.
Hmm.
Let's talk about bullies and how you have people have you have young kids coming home and they're hanging themselves, they're committing suicide because they keep getting bullied. How can we effectively get into the schools where they're taking it seriously, where these kids are being traumatized on the daily by a bully? Is it just the school system is afraid of getting sued, or do you think that they can really do help these kids on a mental health, you know,
I
on a
think they
mental
can.
health level?
I think they can help. They're choosing not to, because in a lot of situations with kids who are getting bullied, especially let's bring into the factor that a lot of LGBTQIA plus kids are getting bullied, and cyberbullying is a thing and everything else like that. And when it's being brought to a teacher's attention or the principal's attention or the superintendent's attention, they're kind of waving it off as of like, oh, we'll talk to the parent of the child, and we'll try to make sure that nothing happens again. I don't think that they're properly investing in making sure that it stops, or that if it happens that they have somebody who's able to work with the children that they're working with. I
Well,
don't think they're heavily investing, honestly, in
do you
mental
think
health.
that the okay? So I'm going to put together schools and the workplace.
Hmm.
Do you think that these kids who are coming back to school with a gun, or these people who are in the workplace who are coming back to school with a gun because they got pissed off at their boss, or they got fired, or this kid was, you know, every single day they took their lunch money, whatever. At what point does the school or the job have to see that we need to step in because there's a problem here, there's a mental health issue here that we need to take care of, or else that person's going to snap?
That's where I say they should already have somebody on the facility, in the facility
Well,
already for
okay,
that.
but why do you think that they just don't want to invest the money? I mean, after everything, after all the shootings we've had, after all the issues with people complaining about bullies, after kids who have committed suicide or they're afraid to go back to school or whatever, why is it that we still are talking about the same thing over and over and over and over? When are we going to care that mental health is a priority in this country?
When 2A is not the biggest talking point of everything.
Okay.
I'm not the guy who's like, I'm gonna take your guns from you. Mental health check should be a background check. Should be how is your mental health? Mental health. If you're gonna hold this weapon that holds 18 bullets in it, and you can walk into anywhere with it openly, we want to make sure that you can properly use it and not be somebody we're afraid to hand this to. And they don't bring that up. That's another issue. And I think the representative from Florida, the Gen Z representative from Florida, he has been going to work on the committee he's a part of, but he has brought up some beautiful points about, you know, the gun control and everything else like that, of like, you guys talk about wanting to save children's lives or save people's lives from people with guns who are
Mhm.
killing people with guns and everything else like that, but you do nothing because the money that's being put in your pocket is from the gun lobbyists. Once you take a look and go, we need to go after this, then maybe we can start focusing on, this person has a mental health issue. They
Mhm.
do not need to have a gun. My kids, I don't ever want to have a gun. I don't ever want to own one. I don't like them. But if I was an individual who decided that they wanted to own guns, I would get a safe. There needs to be a safe. My kid cannot touch my stuff. My kid should not be around my stuff. The passcode or key or whatever the lock is, there should be no ability for them to be able to grab anything of mine, and I should have it in a locked, secure area where they can't get to, because they should have no access to my stuff. They're too young and they do not need to have that. And if they're getting bullied and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to go and I'm going to grab my dad's gun and I'm going to go back to the school and I'm just going to shoot people.
Well, what if it's?
That's
Because I look at it and say, what if it's not a gun? What if they just happen to pick up a chair one day because somebody is so sick and tired? Joker, you just gone too far. I told you to leave me alone. They pick up a chair and start, bash you in the head. Next thing you know, Joker's dead. I mean, because when I see all this stuff that is going on, one of the first things that I do think of is, was this a mental health issue and could it have been prevented? Even if it was not a mental health issue, could it have been prevented? And I think most of the time the answer is yes. It's just that people
yeah.
are either too lazy to do it or they just didn't want to, or they're like, oh yeah, yeah, you'll get over it.
This comes back to a previous thing you were saying about, the blame. Is it society? Is it the government? Is it family? This is where family, when it comes to kids, this is where the family can really take a listen to what their kids are saying. I understand that there are some parents that are like, that toxic masculinity. The dad's like, "Oh, just brush it off. You'll be
Mhm,
fine," and everything else like that, and that becomes an issue. I was
mhm,
raised in toxic masculinity, and I had to grow out of that toxic masculinity and be able to show my stepchildren that it's okay to cry.
mhm,
There's nothing wrong if you don't cry. I mean,
mhm.
it took me years for me to be able to tell them that because I didn't feel that way. But it's if my kid comes back to me and goes, "This kid started pushing me, and he started calling me these names," and then, okay, what do you want me to do about it? Let's have a conversation. Let's see if this continues to become a problem, and I start seeing something that's significantly wrong with my kid coming home from school, and they seem depressed or they seem sad or they're always angry and everything else like that. I'm going to be the I want to be the individual who goes, you know what? Let's go to a professional. Let's talk about these situations. Let's get out the nitty gritty about how you feel about the situation and see what we can do. And then I, as the parent, want to go to the school system and go, look, I'm putting my kid into therapy because he's being bullied all the time. He's being pushed around, and you guys seem to do nothing about it. He tells me he's told the teachers that he's been in the principal's office for this a couple times. Nothing seems to be done about this, and this is the situation with just not this individual, but apparently this individual is also doing it with multiple other
Yeah.
children. You
Hmm.
know, so I, as the parent, need to step into the school system and try to get them to do something about it as well and keep pushing. I don't need to just go there once and say my piece and never think about it again. My child is important to me. I'm going to make
Hmm.
sure that on a regular basis that I am there going, hey, have you guys done anything about this individual doing these things to these children? What are we doing about the bullying situation in your school? So it's a twofold thing. Let me get my kid the help that they need, but at the same time, let me make sure that my kid knows that I'm trying to get the help for it to stop at their school too, so that they can feel safe to go to school. Because I don't want my child coming home and going, tomorrow I'm just going to grab a butcher knife and I'm going to go, I'm done. I can't have it anymore. I'm not gonna do that anymore. I'm not. I don't want to walk home. I don't want to come home to my kid in the bathroom laying on the floor.
Right. Right.
So as a parent, you should have the wherewithal to go. My child needs help, but I also need to help and do
Okay.
what needs to be done.
So let me ask this: do you think that mental health is a global problem?
Oh, I believe in it. I think there is. I don't think there. The terminology for normal, I think, is just a setting on the washer. Nobody in this world is normal.
I like
Everybody
that.
has
I like that. I like that.
everybody has something that's going on with them, whether it be minor or major. There is something mentally happening. Nobody can sit there and look you dead in your face and go, "No, I'm absolutely fine," because in the back of their mind, they're like, "Well, work cut 5 hours of my time. That's 5 hours pay that I don't get to bring home, which is going to hurt me in the bills that I have to pay, which can cause me to go into a slight depression for a little bit." I think it is a global thing, but I don't here comes back to my point about getting rid of privatized insurances. Look at some of the best countries with the best healthcare: Switzerland,
Hmm.
Sweden, Norway, Iceland. Countries that have invested their taxpayers' money into these facilities, so that way that the people don't have to pay out of pocket to be able to get the healthcare that they need.
Hmm.
They're probably got better mental health treatments for these individuals because they can supply it, unlike Americanized privatized insurance where they pay half and then we give them the other chunk.
Okay, so let me ask this: other than greed, because it always comes down to greed in America,
Hmm.
why do you think that America just hasn't looked at what other seriously looked at what other countries are doing? Is it just bottom line money?
Yeah, it's money. We live in a capitalistic society.
Okay.
That's exactly what America is. This is capitalism for 100% one from bottom to top. This is just capitalism. The rich get rich and the poor get poor. And middle class is becoming less middle class than it used to be. It's greed. It's capitalism at its finest. Honestly,
Do you think realistically it will ever get better?
it can.
Do you
It just
think we'll
it takes getting rid of one certain
okay,
party. Honestly,
okay, I believe that too, but let me ask this.
hmm
Do you think it'll happen in your lifetime?
no. But I don't think it may happen in my lifetime. It may when I'm 70 years old. I don't know, but I don't think I will have. The only thing I'm able to do is help the newer generations see and give them the extra kick and go, hey, I'm here. I'm trying to get this. I'm getting it started. You guys are the push that needs to make it happen. I can get it started, but you're the push.
Okay, so in terms of your own personal mental health, do you see yourself in a situation where you'll be able to get up and go to sleep and just say, "You know what? I'm good. Everything's okay."
Hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
One
So,
day, it may not be right now. One day, yes, absolutely. I'm not getting it right now because the job that I work at and the time in which I have to work and what they make, a lot of that. The times that I do actually get a full night's worth of sleep is when I'm at my girlfriend's house. she's literally the only person I've ever seen who's been able to keep me calm to where I just
So, can you take some of that and bring it home? Whatever mojo she's doing or whatever she's giving off, can you bring that home? And because I guess what I'm going to ask you is, well, what I am going to ask you is, what advice do you have for someone who is going through the same thing that you are, um, and being able to just stay centered?
I'm not so I for first and foremost for anybody who's listening and can see me or is just listening or anything else like that, I want you to know that not every day is peachy keen for me. I'm not a centered individual every day. I work a underpaid, overworked job and I'm stressed all the time. But, you know, there are days where I don't get sleep. There are days where I do get sleep. There are days where I get too much sleep because my body just finally said enough is enough. But, I try to focus on things will get better if I continue to just keep going. Like I've applied for 50 other jobs in the last week because I'm tired of. I want to have a regular life of semblance, to be able to wake up in the morning, go to work, and then come home and be able to do the things that I need to do. I don't want to have to worry about putting food in my house. I don't want to worry about these other things. I'm not trying to you know sit there and go, well, today's going to be another one of them days. Like I have to figure out how much gas I have in my car to be able to get down the road to be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And these are stressful things, but at the same time, I put on music. I have and I also throw it in this balance too. May not everybody not may not be in the same circumstance as me because I'm also in recovery, so I battle addiction as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have an outreach of other people who I can talk to. I do have a sponsor. I do
Mm-hmm.
have people in recovery meetings who I can get a hold of and be like, "Hey man, today I just really felt like instead of putting a cigarette in my mouth, I just really wanted to go get a bottle or, I really wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go do some pills or something else like that." So I have people who are like, "What's going on?" So I have the access of being able to talk to some people and they go, is it really worth it? It's one of those main questions that you always go to. But is it really worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Bob's Burgers is on my TV right now. I paused it. I paused it so I could do this, but I have been binge watching Bob's Burgers for the last 3 weeks. I fall asleep to it. I keep
Okay.
it on, but I have come to a system where it's like I go live on TikTok. I have music in the background
Mm-hmm.
because I know I'm going to get some of those people on TikTok who are going to try to run their mouth and everything else like that. And I'm not going to battle them. I'm just going to let it go. And I've got something that keeps my mind at bay because I made that clear that one time. Music that's my grounding. Like
Do you ever take walks?
I just did actually yesterday. Solid. Me and my girlfriend went to Watkins Mill National Park yesterday.
And did that
And
help you at all?
absolutely. It felt
Okay.
really good
No, the reason
because
why I ask is because I have 3 dogs, and one of them, he's my main walking buddy. And every
mhm,
morning, we get up and I'm out for probably about an hour, hour and a half, because my dog likes to walk. And that's the time for me that I can really just, I'm in my own thoughts, and you're just walking. Of course, you're getting that exercise, and exercise does help your mental health, whatever. So that's why I was asking. Did you think walking, kind of help?
so it can, yeah, in the circumstances. I have a cat, so like I can't go
I'm
for
not a
walks with
cat
my cat. I,
person.
I'm not a big dog person. There's like three types of dogs that I would ever love to have, and one of them would be one that I would have to go on walks all the time with because I'm a huge Siberian Husky fan,
Oh yeah,
and
you gotta walk those. Yeah.
you've got to walk them. But I have a rare female orange tabby because you 1 in 5 orange tabbies are females. So like I have my little tubs and I love her to death, but we can't go on walks. But see, here's another thing that I'll bring up that I do. Like I go to work at 2:30 in the morning.
Okay.
I get off at roughly 7:30, 7:30 most days. So, 5 hours,
That's
you
okay.
know, but because of how stressful it is and everything else like that, I will literally sit in the parking lot of my job, smoke 3 or 4 cigarettes, and listen to music and just kind of go, all right, before I have to make the 30-minute drive back to my house. Because if I'm stressed and I get in my car because of situations in my past before, I have 2 speeding tickets, and one was because I was in the middle of a PTSD episode, and I decided that I was going to do 110 on a 65 and swerve through traffic trying to,
So, what
you know,
advice do you give to someone who is at that point? What advice can you give to them? Is it just to sit in the parking lot and just take a couple of deep breaths or smoke some cigarettes and then what advice can you give them where they are just, let me just make it home safely?
take as long as you need. Take
Okay.
as long as you need. Because it's not just like a couple minutes. Don't put on like 2 songs and smoke like 2 cigarettes and go, all right, I think I'm all right. Because you may not be. Take as long as you feel that you need to be. If your heart's racing out of your chest right now and you're just like, I'm so mad, I'm so angry right now, I can't do this, sit there and you don't, if you don't smoke cigarettes, good on you. I've got to quit. But like, just sit there and breathe, like just take in what you're listening to. Or if you don't want to put on music, if you work, say you work in around nature, there's
Mhm,
trees and
mhm,
birds, and listen to the sounds.
mhm,
Meditating is so beautiful. For me, I've come to find out that meditating, and i don't I don't push religion or belief systems on anybody. You believe what you want to believe and anything else like that. If you are sitting down and you're just listening to nature and you're having a conversation with your God of your choice,
mhm.
and what do you need me, just have a conversation. Don't even just like pray per se. Just have a conversation. Talk. Just breathe and let the nature soak in and go, you know what? Is it worth missing this beautiful sound right now? These birds are chirping, the sun is beaming, and it's nice outside. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. I can do this.
Okay, so one of my last questions, actually next to last, because you were saying this and I just thought about this. What
Hmm.
do you say when you're just sitting in your car or you're at the park sitting on the park bench and a police officer comes over and they say, "What are you doing?" And you're like, "I'm just sitting here chilling, whatever." Where do you see law enforcement and mental health? Because I personally think if someone is having a mental health episode, police officers are not the people to call.
No, I absolutely
You should
100% agree with you.
call the paramedics or something. You do not call, even if the person is being violent. I do not think you need to call the police. And I think that's where people and families, when people say, "Oh, well, they killed my son," well, you probably shouldn't have called the police in the first place. And I think that it needs to be stressed that if someone is having a mental health episode, don't call the police, because police officers are not equipped to deal with it. They deal with it with a gun. They deal with it
Mhm.
with violence. So
I
where do you see that?
so I 100% agree with you, and I'm sorry I interrupted earlier in the same saying the same thing, but I agree with you 100% that the police are not the people that need to be dealing with mental health. They do not get the training, nor if they even do get any kind of training, it's not adequate enough to be able to deal with a mental health situation. There needs to be designated teams to go help an individual having some mental health crisis. When you call 911 and you're like, well, this guy's just out in his yard screaming at this tree, and I know he's had stressful
Well,
situations
okay, but
before,
that's
but like,
okay, but that's where, okay. So is the breakdown with 911 that should 911 just be calling the EMT, but then they'll say, "Oh, by the way, we need some police officers here." I mean, should the training really come there, like, or should the somehow should there be another, I don't know, 811 or something, where you're not calling where police officers are not involved? We do not need you, we do not want you, we need someone who is from a medical field, whatever, who can deal with this, who's not coming barging in with shields and weapons and
So yeah, no, I think there should be like a 1-1, a number for like that for mental health. But and another thing is that there are some people who may not know about that number, who do call 911, and in that designation, I don't think it even should be EMT who's called to the scenario. I
okay,
think that it should be a designated mental health team,
okay,
a team they have created that has like a therapist and a social worker, people who are designated to work with somebody who has mental health. If the
okay,
situation gets to a point where it is violent and somebody is, say, per se, being held hostage or something else
right,
like that, then yes, law enforcement, obviously.
hmm,
But in the circumstance that I'm out screaming at my tree because I think the tree is trying to hit me or something like that, and you can tell I'm having some kind of mental health breakdown, you should be able to call and then not go, well, we need to send police and we need to send the EMT and we need to send the fire department, because none of them are adequately trained.
hmm,
My dad was a firefighter for 40 some years. He's not adequately trained in mental
hmm,
health. They should instantly, if you called 911, they should go, okay, well, this is a mental health situation. So instead of EMT, police, firefighter, let's call this team,
okay,
because this is the team. There should also, in that team, there should be teams created
hmm,
for all hours of situations,
hmm,
because it's 2:30 in the morning. That one team that was working at 9 a.m. does not need to be the team going in at 2:30 in the morning
hmm,
to a crisis. They should have that built up. And that's going back to your, if I was given the money to create these things for mental health, that is another thing that I would create. You gave me the money. I'm going to create mental health teams. I'm going to create a system in which, if somebody does not know of 811, that they called 911, that
hmm,
person over the phone for 911 should not go, well, police is the first thing that I sent. They should also be trained to go, no, this is a mental health crisis. We're going to send this team right here. This is a designated mental health team. Please, and then allow the individual that you talk to go, hey, I have a therapist, social worker, and a trained mental health team coming to you
hmm.
to see what's going on with this situation. If things persist and get violent, please call us again so that we can send the adequate thing that we need to. But right now, we are sending a trained mental health team to see what is going on.
Okay, all right. Because I definitely don't believe that police officers are equipped to do any of this.
Mm.
So, Joker, that's all I have. Did you want to add anything else, or you want whatever you want to share? Or
I mean, let I just want everybody to know, man. Like, uh, you can think that I was just jibber jabbing, or or anything else like that. Mental health is a serious thing. Let's go ahead and get that taken care of. Because I don't want the next person to have to go through some of the same things that I've had to go through. So I just really would like to see the mental health system being portrayed better than what it is right now, and getting more use than what it is now, and getting more training and more, adequate workers who can help in this situation. Um, I just want to be able to watch everybody succeed in life. I don't
Mhm,
want to see a single person. I mean, in this can go back to politics or, anything. I don't want to see a single person. I may not like you because of some of the things that you think or some of the things that you say. I don't want to see a single person suffer mentally. I want them to all be able to get the help that they need. So, hate me or love me, I don't hate everybody. I don't really try to hate people. I don't like a lot of people, but we can become more successful in life if we have the adequate mental health treatments for people who really need it, and things can get done a whole lot better, and maybe society can be just a tad bit calmer. I'm not going to say it's going to be like extremely calmer, but
mhm.
like it can be a little bit better than what it is now if people were getting the help that they need.
Okay,
So
all right. And Joker, you also have a project that you're working on with someone else.
Yeah, so I've got a couple in the works right now. I'm an executive producer. This is my baby. This is the show that me and two other content creators on TikTok are going to be creating for Ghost Call Productions. We are going to be doing a Viking style Mr. Rogers. I have a content creator who goes by the name of Tiger Ball, and he's part of our Villains Guild. He is a Norse pagan like I am, and we want to create, a show where we can educate people because we don't want people to look at. I'm wearing a hammer on my neck right now. I'm wearing Thor's hammer. I'm wearing a Mjolnir, but I don't want people to associate me with white supremacy
Mhm.
or neo-fascism or anything else like that because this is not what this represents. It was not a whites only thing. Anybody can be Norse. So what we want to do is we want to educate people on assemblage, on stories, on Yule, on a whole lot of things. So we are creating a show kind of in that style of like Mr. Rogers, but I think we're gonna go with the title of Mr. Norseman's Neighborhood. So because Tiger is a military vet, retired, was told he was never gonna walk again. He wears hearing aids, but the man has come up to do fundraisers and help the homeless and everything else like that. So I'm looking forward to that.
Do you know when that may debut?
So we're hoping to get it onto the YouTube channel by September.
Okay.
If anybody wants to follow me on TikTok, it's JokerHa31. I have a playlist that's being created right now called "Welcome to." I mean, it says Mr. Norseman's NH because it wouldn't let me put neighborhood. Um, Tiger's wearing a green cardigan with no shirt underneath, but he's got his Mjolnir on around his neck.
Mhm.
Um, it's great. I'm also co-hosting the radio show with Thomas, which is we're picking up traction and we're going to be doing a whole lot of great things with that. We're hoping to find sponsorships and
And I will say that is a very good show. I enjoy it immensely.
we love having you on. By the way,
I enjoy that show immensely.
and then I'm going to try to be creating a kind of like a reactionary channel with my homeboy General Gambit, who's another member of the guild. We're gonna do more than just like music videos or
Mhm.
somebody's music or anything. It'll be a reaction channel to like I don't know hot sauces and um, TV shows or like doing Bob's Burgers. Like the pest control van. What did it say this time?
Mhm.
And talk about it. And then me, angry IT nerd, another one of our guild members named Demi Fallon, and one of the other writers of the Mr. Norseman's Neighborhood, McKenna. Her name's Sam. We're gonna try to do a podcast where it's like the four of us having a conversation about things, having an intellectual conversation about certain things, and everybody's different perspective on that, basically.
Okay.
So we have a female, two people of color, and then this pale white dude right here. So um, there's a lot of things coming. Thomas has plot holes. There's a lot of things coming. So I
Okay.
could go on with promos.
Okay. All right. Well, Joker, again, I say thank you for saying yes. You did not have to do this, and you said yes. So I am thanking you. Um, and everyone, until next time, I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is I Am My Own Story. And today was Joker's story. So until next time, peace.